go in 5, 4, 3, 2. Nick, thanks so much for being here. I like doing this every so often with you because I feel like things in New York often change, but what actually hasn't changed a lot is sort of Jaunty's position in it. So good to have you on.
Well, that's very sweet of you, Jay. Thank you for having me. It's awesome to be on.
It's great to see you. So I was just looking back on old stuff that we've done on Cultivated, and I found this gem of a picture. Can I show you?
Yes, please.
It's a good one of you. Here we go. There you go.
That's a great one.
It's funny. It is part of a video. So those that have followed for a long time, this was actually, I think, right when you were changing the overall company name to Jaunty, I think.
Yeah.
From Nature. And I paid a visit to you in Hoosick Falls, New York, and you gave me a tour, and we both had beard nets on, but you were the only one that I actually I didn't show myself with a beard net. I just showed you.
Yeah. Of course. It was only fair. I was the one showing you my toys. It's been a long time since then. I mean, since July of 24 that you visited, it feels like it's been like 3 or 4 years for us, in cannabis years. And we've made some big moves. We renamed the whole company Jaunty, and then by December of 24, we had gotten all of our other brands out of market. We previously had Resonators, Jumbo Dose. We had a licensing deal with Critical, and we decided to really focus all in on Jaunty. And I think you were like right at the beginning of that happening.
And can we actually talk about that? Because when we met initially, met in person initially, you were talking about sort of how the company started and where it was and how you're growing. And I think you were even bringing in new manufacturing processing capabilities as we were there. And that was sort of seemed like part of the plan. That was, look, we're going to see where the market is. We're going to grow as the market grows, as opposed to investing in like on the Canadian landscape, people built 1 million square foot greenhouses before they had sort of purchase orders. Like, talk a little bit about sort of the start to growth and scale to now, and sort of how the company's evolved.
Well, we built 15, 20,000 square foot greenhouses and did all sorts of silly mistakes in our CBD years since we started in 2017. So I always say, like, if we wouldn't have gotten our butts kicked the way that we did in CBD and nearly go to bankruptcy, we really wouldn't have stood a shot when we got into the rec side of things, just because CBD taught us the importance of focus and of how difficult it is to try to do just one thing right versus doing many of those things right. So that's kind of been our story even since CBD. At the very beginning, we were white labelers, growers. We had our own brand. We were wholesalers of ingredients as well. So we were all these things. Then we started in rec, and we had a very hard time with that. Then we started in rec, and we said, okay, well, we're just going to focus on finished product brands because the wholesale side is the first thing to get commoditized. And even though THC will compress in pricing slower than CBD, it's the same story anyway. So we'll focus on our own brands. And then we kind of realized, well, wait, this is still doing the same thing we were doing in CBD. We're trying to be all these different people when we really are this one thing. And if we do this right, we might stand a chance of making a margin. That famous thing that that nobody likes to talk about, and keeping the margin. And certainly, there's no shortage of challenges. We've been keeping our position now, but as things are scaling now and they're getting bigger, what we've always talked about and what we know is coming, price compression, is arriving pretty aggressively in New York. And at the moment, without track and trace and without meaningful enforcement from the agency, from the regulator, there's buses of inversion. I don't know if that's the way to say it, but there's a lot of out-of-state product coming in that's driving pricing down, just as it has done in pretty much every other market, because the regulator is never smart enough to stop it on time, if you will. And most markets have these massive swaths of areas that are opted out, which I think is total BS, to be honest with you. I think if the market is going to legalize, then the whole state has to take responsibility. You can't have these sections that are like, oh, you guys legalize, but not us. Because what happens is, with all of these opt-out areas, all dispensaries end up opening in the same
3 blocks.
So number one, that causes what like all of the anti-weed guys hate, which is like these green areas that are they just like smell like weed because everything's concentrated there. And number two, it causes the stores like at the most critical choke point of price in the market, it causes them to start competing really aggressively with each other just to like make it, and these battles ensue, and the suppliers are squeezed in the middle of those battles. And so price goes down. When there is not as much supply, that holds off. Like if you looked at Massachusetts did do it right on the track and trace from very early. And so their compression took like 5 or 6 years to occur.
As opposed to 15 minutes.
Yeah, as opposed to like one or 2 years, like, you know, Oklahoma, Michigan, New York, or New York is at least down the path. I think we're still within a few months. Let's see how quickly Metric gets in place. Let's see how serious they are about enforcement with that. But those are some of the challenges for sure. It's just like your margin is going to get compressed as things go on, and how do you get more efficient, and who's going to pay for that? Is it your farmers? Are you going to have to go ask for lower prices and better terms, or is it, you know, your vape hardware suppliers, whatever it might be? Yeah. Things will get harder and harder, and sometimes not even scale can save you. But anyway,
so I mean, just sort of compressing what you just said, like a bit of it is about focus, right? Like sometimes it takes time, both on the CBD side and for the THC side, to say we are this and we are good at this, and this is where we're going to drive the business and go. Yeah. And then there's a bit of what you're talking about the market, and market challenges which exist in every market. Some of them are exactly the same on different time horizons. Some of them are unique to New York, certainly with Metric not having really launched yet. Like, I guess still, when we do our Lit Alerts sort of analytics on Tuesdays, Rick from Lit Alerts gives us the list a lot of times about New York, sort of brands driving success and like leading brands. And Jaunty is always on the list, sometimes in multiple categories. So talk about that. Is that a function of being early? That's sort of one. 2, being focused. 3, partnerships on the ground and sort of good relationship with retailers, or a bit of all those things mixed up together?
For sure, all those things. Like if I was going to explain it, I guess, like what's the success so far? How are we still growing? Because we have still managed to continue to grow in like a seemingly starting to be more difficult environment. Number one is that like our whole core team, from me to our CFO, our head of distribution, head of sales and marketing, head of product, and head of operations of production, they're all partners in the company. So that from the offset, like that group that I'm talking about there owns like 55-60% of the company. And that's a big difference from like a lot of our competitors that we see out there. And that essentially has allowed us to do things, I think, that you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have like the equity incentive in there. Like distro is a great example where before we were like at 1.5 million in monthly sales, we had the goal in distro that they could not spend more than 5% as a percentage of last month's sales. So if last month we sold 500 grand, you guys have $25,000 to do this month's deliveries. And at smaller scale, like, which was allowing us to build up cash and buy more inventory and keep growing. But at smaller scale, that was impossible. That was like me, my cousin Gaetano, and all of us just not sleeping, delivering throughout the whole state with 25,000 to get to Buffalo, to New York City, to everywhere. Then once we started to get past 2 or 3 million, we had a lot more to work with, but we had just been forced into a lot of efficiencies to try to make that 5% work from the 500 to $1 million. And because we were all partners in it, we were there till 11 at night, 12 at night. Everybody was there was this camaraderie and happiness about it. So I think forcing yourself to have these cost targets, even when it basically seems impossible, and just saying, we'll figure it out. And tied along with like being just focused right now on the vape category with one brand is what allows you to survive all of the difficult stuff that we're talking about, like all of the stuff that wants to eat away at your margins because you're thinking about like different product categories and having to restock different inventories for, you know, seasonal launches or whatever it may be. Like there's from when we launched Jaunty to now, my understanding of brand and marketing and how to really build something that resonates with consumers like long term, there's like levels to levels of it. We're like still very much learning even who our consumer is and how do we speak to them and how do we incentivize the different audiences that we want to talk to without hurting the brand's value prop and and the pricing and the margin in general. So like just like the general go-to-market strategy. That's all thanks to having a team that's super well incentivized though.
Yeah. Can I ask you another question? Because you referenced it with New York's track and trace, right? They started on a bio track. Now it's a metric track, but it still hasn't really launched. And so I assume there's just spreadsheets galore behind you in binders or whatever. Talk about what impact that'll be on the business, or is it like you're doing it all anyway? It's just reporting to a different group of people. Like how
when
do you?
When that goes in,
Yeah.
I don't want to get too technical because we don't have a ton of time. Generally speaking, as long as they put the system in how they have like in New Jersey and Massachusetts and Connecticut,
Yeah.
it should be fine. Like it should actually make life a little bit easier for everybody because like things will be standardized a bit more and I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't say it's going to make life easier. No, I'm sorry. I take that back. It's certainly going to make things a little bit less flexible. Yep. You won't be able to do the same sorts of things with returns that'll make things a little bit less flexible, but we can at least be sure that this whole thing that we're doing is not a charade, right? Like we can at least be sure that from beginning to end, this actually contributed to New York farms and New York economy. It put tax dollars in the coffers, like, at least so it's worth it. But but I think for most operators, they're already operating that way. Like most farms are using Flourish software, which has all of their plants, if not physically tagged, at least digitally tagged. Right. So everybody's sort of ready for this in New York. And New York has a history of being an advanced manufacturing state. You know, many of the dairy farmers here are like the techiest guys that you can meet with all the stuff that they have. So I think we'll be fine here with track and trace. We all want it. We've been begging for it for like 3 years.
Right. Yeah. I want to ask sort of future looking. And I mean, the market is growing. It's growing by leaps and bounds, even with all the challenges it faced on the launch, even with relatively, I think, a slow opening of sort of retail operations. Sure. But now it's sort of picked up and sales have been robust, let's say. But again, in some pockets throughout the state, not all throughout the state. Like as you look at the next, I don't know, 6, 12, 18 months, like how do you even project that, not even knowing how many retail operations there will be? Like, is it very different? Is it like easy to predict, gung-ho, straight ahead? Like, how do you even sort of have those board meetings and think about it?
We kind of think we think about it a lot based on just historical. So just like what have our average sales been per account that we're in for the past 3 months, and then we usually chop some off of that because we're constantly expecting that more brands are coming in, the price is going down, and that we're going to lose some of that value. Generally, like we do an annual plan in December. We'll do an annual plan, and like this is what we think is going to happen in terms of revenue based on these product launches and this product development that's going to happen. And then we start just looking at it every quarter, and we're pretty much wrong every single time, but we at least like know what we're wrong against. So I would say like the keeping score at the team has also been a big thing. But to your question, you know, we'll say right now our thinking is that there's about 10 to 15 new doors that we'll get in every single month, and that we're selling like $5,000 to $6,000 to each one of these new doors that's coming in the next quarter, roughly. And so we'll say, okay, now that we're here, we're honing in. This is what we thought a year ago we were going to do. Ha ha ha. This is what's actually going to happen. And we get pretty close. Like within 3 months, we can forecast it pretty close, just based on tracking those like average numbers of average sales of the product per store, of
well, it's just even
numbers. New store openings, yeah, like store pipeline. Sorry, yeah.
Can I ask you another question about that, and then I'll let you go because you're certainly busy. I want to ask you about those stores, right? And you're 10 new stores, 10 or 12 new stores a month, and that's not in one specific geography. That could be 10 stores.
That's usually fairly evenly spread out. Like it's about like 4 stores down in Metro and 6 throughout the rest of the state.
But the rest of the state is sizable.
Size of England.
Yeah. Is it really? Yeah, I guess that's right. I do the drive all the time, you know that. So I guess I could drive in England, wrong side of the street, but nonetheless. I want to add, like, has the sort of on the ground, sort of boots on the ground level, has that conversation changed? When you go in with a Jaunty hat on and a Jaunty shirt, Jaunty products, you can look at those lists from Little Earth and say, look, we have this type of penetration. This is what consumers want. We know that because we're in this region and all the other regions. Like, do those conversations get easier as time goes on because you have a strong brand to stand behind?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's a good timing for this question because I just spent the last 2 weeks, the previous 2 weeks, visiting only stores. So I went to like 130, 140 stores in that period of time. And I heard something that I had not heard before being in the field was, it's nice to have brought Jaunty in. We just came into the store. It's nice to have brought Jaunty in because you guys have your own demand. And I was like, excuse me? We have our own demand? Really? Oh, wow. That's really nice to hear. So there's certainly been like a little bit more of that. The conversation has changed in that sense. And even internally, we have, the idea of acquisition, expansion, or retention. Acquisition being just like new stores, expansion being new products into existing stores, and retention just defending what we have. We've stopped focusing a lot on acquisition. Like our reps are not on the list looking at like who just opened and blah, blah, because we're in like 400 out of the 450 stores. And when they open, they're generally getting a phone call. They're much more worried about expansion. Like they want, when they get the phone call, to make sure that they can get the right products in so that we start the relationship off well. We're always trying to get the smallest order that we can possibly put in. We have no MOQs. We're super focused on service just so that we can get paid, quite frankly, and the store can pay and they can see what their demand is. So we focus, and we do next day delivery now too. That was a big thing in distro.
Holy shit.
So we have next day delivery to 46% of the market now, which is like all the 5 boroughs. And then we just opened a warehouse in Albany, which we'll do next day to all of Capital. Once we're about to open a warehouse in Buffalo, that'll allow us to do next day in Capital and in Buffalo, and we'll have like 78% of the state at next day. So it's like if like the idea of the machine is like the sales rep is going to use Little Alerts, shout out Little Alerts, or Nexus on headset, and he's going to see what the store needs. He's going to send the buyer an order. The buyer is going to say, yeah, that's cool. We make sure that he gives them a call to have this little bit of friction. Can you also add this new product in? Yeah, sure. If he adds the new product in, marketing is getting pinged. They're going to schedule a pop-up to launch the new product. And the next day, distro is coming with the physical displays, with everything else. The digital displays are already set. And this machine, if we could just turn stuff like this in 24 hours, I think that'll mean a lot for New York dispensaries for sure. Like if we were somewhere else, maybe it wouldn't be as important, but people love that here, that they just get service.
Well, you're helping them do the work as well. And a lot of them are new, like everybody. No, there's not someone who's been in business 10 years, right? We're all still figuring out just like you. So it is a helpful partner to have. Nick, I want to thank you for making time today. And we're recording this. It'll run later this week, but I appreciate the time, appreciate the good work, and look forward to getting back to this look.
Hopefully soon. I'll be there tomorrow.
Oh, well, I will not be, but we'll make a plan. We'll do it. Maybe we'll visit the warehouse in Buffalo. Maybe we'll do a day of delivery with you guys. Would be so much fun.
Let's do that. That would be great. Yeah, you'll see the next day delivery kicking around the state.
That's great. That's a lot to do. It's a very big state. So congratulations to you and the team. And we'll connect with you and the Jaunty crew as time goes on. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Jay. Take care.
You got it.